Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once more to another week here of FaceIt League, and most importantly, Dexatron, it is the last week of the regular season, so tensions are high. There are some teams that are already locked in or locked out, but the case for today, Phoenix Rising, Factor X, this is a match that I think is going to have a lot of importance for that top four spots when it comes to South America, and for Phoenix Rising, it is close to it being a do-or-die scenario for them.
Yeah, we were looking at this before we went live here. I mean, let's just kind of give a quick synopsis of what happened last Thursday here in the South American region. Garfo upset, I believe it was Luminous Mortis.
Correct.
To kind of throw a big wrench into the standings and how we thought everything was going to pace out this week. With them beating Luminous Mortis, it actually made it a little bit easier for Factor X. All that Factor X really has to do here tonight is win, and me and you, Hunter, are pretty sure they're both in. Phoenix Rising with a loss, technically not out yet. They would have to beat Pumas in their last game on Thursday, but then you still have Luminous Mortis playing a game here tonight. However, that game, I believe, is against Warfist. They need to win that one to keep themselves in that playoff contention. So a lot of big games happening here in the South American region this week, and not only today, but Thursday as well. But hey, looking back at the top of those standings, Warfist and Elements, we are pretty confident those two teams are locked in, not only to the playoffs, but probably those first two spots, because the worst that those two teams could get at this point, or one of those teams could get at this point, is 2 losses.
I mean, that is exactly the case. At this point, it is literally a battle for the first and second seed unless something extremely wild ends up going down here. And obviously, we'll have the culmination of that happening on Thursday, but again, that's a point we're going to end up getting to. But the focus really is on tonight because, I mean, Dex, you were hyping up for a while of how when we get to this last day on Thursday, that it could be a battle between, for the first and second seed and for the third and fourth seed. Like, that was a real big contentious topic that we were trying to get figured out and see if that was going to be the case. But obviously, with there being so many important matches tonight, we'll make sure to update you on these other two matches as we keep going along here with Phoenix Rising and Factor X, because obviously, as those results come through, it's going to become more important as to the results that we're seeing here, especially with what goes down with Luminous Mortis, because if they get the upset, I mean, the pressure is even more substantially on Phoenix Rising, and for that fact, Factor X as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes us right back to the situation we were talking about last week, where you'll see 3 games on Thursday that are for all 4 spots. Basically, Warfist and Elements, they're playing each other on Thursday. That'll be for the first and second spot. And then after that, Factor X is playing Luminous Mortis. Phoenix Rising is playing, I believe it's Garfo. And then Pumas is playing Luminous Mortis. I might have said that wrong. No, Phoenix Rising, my bad. Phoenix Rising is playing Pumas. Factor X is playing Luminous Mortis. We could have all those games mean something in that final day of the regular season here. Remember, top 4 teams make it here in the South American region because there's only 7, though, competing.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, Criminal Database not really getting the season started. It's an unfortunate scenario, but I mean, the bright side for these teams is it does take away one of those bottom 4 slots, and it gives them this opportunity for some teams to have that week break to kind of really focus in on their practice to see what's happening. But either way, we are getting into the voting for this very first map, as we'll go ahead and cut it over and check things out. Obviously, Busan, Ilios, Oasis, the first picks here for Control. Again, we really get a lot of that push towards Oasis. Busan has been coming back up a little bit, but Dex teams just decide that Ilios is just not the sauce. In fact, I don't think we've seen an Ilios pick since maybe week 2 or 3.
It's been a while, especially in
Holy
this
crap!
Hey, speak it into existence, Hunter, and we will get it. Ilios, gonna be our first map of the night. And what I was gonna say was, this region, the South American region, doesn't necessarily like to play Ilios. It seems they are more favorable of going over to, I believe it was Busan, what we have been seeing the last couple weeks. But I mean, I believe this was Phoenix Rising's pick, so they're trying to throw a little bit of a curveball here early on. And I mean, we talked about what the stakes are for them. They really need to win here tonight to put themselves into a favorable spot in that game or going into Thursday. A loss here tonight doesn't necessarily eliminate them, but it basically makes their game Thursday against Pumas a must-win.
I mean, that is exactly what it does in this situation, as we're going to see what the bans are going to be coming through here. Obviously, we're never able to capture the second ban. We always have to wait until rosters are locked in and finalized, but we will at least be able to see the first one here in a few seconds as they're currently picking sides. But, I mean, to be fair, the bans have been relatively the same throughout the first round. At least there seems to be those few characters that seem to get banned pretty early. We're talking like Orisa. Well, there's Orisa right there. I mean, it's Orisa. It's like Orisa, like Juno, Freya, which has kind of been a less and less of a must pick as lineups now being finalized. But I mean, like I said, that Orisa is absolutely no shock to be being picked here in the first round.
Yeah, especially in this region, and I mean, it started in this region, at least when you go back and look at how Copa America ended, and then the start of it, the start of the FaceIt season, where Orisa was what me and you both considered a go-to tank. Now Orisa's kind of become the go-to tank almost everywhere. It seems Orisa very strong right now in the meta. However, Hunter, one big thing that we are going to hark on a little bit here tonight: patch day. Some buffs, some nerfs, some minor changes. I think everyone's kind of focusing in on the Tracer change here. And I mean, we have seen some really good Tracer players here from the South American region.
Yeah, no, we 100% have, and I'm curious how much we're going to fall down that route, which, to be honest, I think there's no reason not to. Tracer has already been played a fair amount as it is. Freya has been kind of slowly been falling off over the course of the last few weeks. It's not a bad choice by any means, but Tracer going back to 6 damage per tick is... Tracer is insane when she gets to that point, so it's kind of hard to not indulge in that. And then obviously with Petal, who ended up joining on Factor X last week, we got to see them for the very first time on that squad. Looking to kind of see a bit of a repeat performance for them as well, because I would imagine it's either them or LCS that ends up playing the Tracer. For some reason, I can't quite remember,
LCS
but...
Sport.
Okay, well, then I'm correct then. It's Petal, you know? I mean, I'm not wrong then. I'm pretty on the dot.
No, you're pretty on the dot. And I mean, we've seen Factor X now 2 times this season. This is our 3rd time seeing them. However, this is the first time we're seeing Phoenix Rising, I believe, on our stream.
Yeah.
They've been on a couple of the other ones run by, William Mundy and Chef Billy. But first time we are seeing them. I do recognize one name almost immediately of Steel Kiwi. But outside that, I just need to see a map from this team to have a good idea of how they want to play. But it's going to be really, really interesting here. We're still waiting for lineups to be finalized. I mean, we saw last week, Factor X, they looked like a really complete team. And going into that series, I don't think we necessarily expected the outcome we got from it, because Factor X, they were going into that one basically having it be like, you need to win this one to keep your hopes alive. They did just that. They won it dominantly. However, Hunter, it looks like you talked about the 2 bans here. Looks like you were right with the second one as well. Freya going to be banned out as well.
Yep, history does kind of tend to repeat itself when it comes to these first map bans. So, yeah, this isn't really shocking in the slightest. I mean, Ilios being the first map is honestly the most shocking thing, because this opens up the door a little bit more to dive. But to be honest here, I don't know how much these teams are going to indulge specifically with that style of dive, because that's not necessarily the marquee thing we see in this region, quite frankly. But both teams, I imagine, are going to be capable of playing it. I know we've seen it previously from Factor X, but as we'll go ahead and get into this thing, Dex, and in terms of what we're seeing from the spawn room here, as we have nothing on display yet, but we did see peaks of a Junker Queen, which, to be honest, with the buffs that we had just come through, honestly, it's not a bad tank pick whatsoever.
Yeah, and I mean, I've always been a fan of Drunken Queen.
Oh yeah.
Even before this buff, or even before the buffs, I still thought Drunken Queen was in a really good spot. But you slowly start to see other tanks sort of take that place where you could see Queen, just because of survivability and sustain. But right now, coming out, looks like Queen is going to be the way for both teams here. Not necessarily surprised by it, because, like you said, the buffs. But outside that, varying different, at least DPS lines. Well, yeah, very different DPS lines here. You do see Phoenix Rising playing the Mei, which is a very interesting one in my opinion, especially for this map. But I do see where it could find some value here. Connie, though, making the late swap over to the D.Va, so that dive is going to be alive and well here. But I was going to say, coming into this map, just seeing dive, it really depends on what point we were going to get. I thought Ruin would be the one where we see the least of it, but it looks like Phoenix Rising wants to play it here early.
Yeah, I really like the way that Factor is just trying to go about this as well. This is a comp that is really good at simply running things down. Honestly, has a good amount of sustain on top of that. They don't necessarily have to play super close. Petal is able to play pretty far away as I see the boost from over there as Rainy Day just gets pulled in and decimated on the spot, and that first fight is as good as done as Connie right now just needs to focus on getting out with that mech.
Hot Babe not going to be able to escape. Petal playing very far up here at the moment, going to be able to safely get back as well, but this is one thing we saw last week. Romani can take over the game at any point, and the moment they start to fall off a little bit, that DPS line here for Factor X is going to be able to pick up the slack as well. This support line, WedTube and LCS, you'll see some swaps come here and there. Again, just very, very good. LCS on that Lucio, you really have to watch out for them. They know how to play safe aggressively, but that is a really, really hard thing to learn as a Lucio.
It is, and by the way, they are not going to expect that Petal is about to have this Deadeye ready to go here. If they wanted to go aggressive in here and speed them in, it could be pretty devastating just simply because you're going to get caught off guard, but we're seeing Connie go aggressive right now, but still Kiwi gets taken out first. You lose out on the speed, you get the wall trying to keep Rainy Day alive. It just doesn't happen, and Petal is having a really good start here, so once again, Connie needs to focus on getting out with that mech right here, but it's looking a little more contentious than usual, as they should be able to get out fine once again.
And they're going to have ultimates coming in. This one, Katuno's already coming out here from Hot Babe. Deadeye from Petal just try to slow it down.
Yeah, and we see Deadeye just come out to kind of slow the bleeding a little bit, but Petal ends up getting taken out, so the door opens up. Consider Rush activated by WedTube just to try to slow the bleeding once again here, and seems to be working out for the time being, but they need to start finding picks right now, or maybe trying to knock Connie out of that mech, who is super close. And now just a question of whether Phoenix Rising needs to invest any more ultimates to make this a success. And there it is right there. They end up having the double beat. The blade thrown in by Jodello as well. We're trying to find something, but this is becoming Final Fight territory. For Phoenix Rising, this is a must-win now.
And you still have ultimates. Overclock coming out here. You have Blizzard. You have Bomb from Connie, who's done a really good job just staying alive in that mech here. But that's going to be something that you might just have to use just to clear out point and try to get a swap here. But you find Jodello early. That's what you need if you're Phoenix.
It 100% is right now, as Petal has to kind of fade away right now. Is in a bit of a weird spot. Gets taking some damage from that bomb. Doesn't end up going down, though. Petal ends up getting rid of one. Romani hits a couple of bodies, but the cleanse does come out. And Rainy Day is getting a 2K, clearing things away. If they can survive just a little bit longer, they should have this locked in. And Petal trying to come to the rescue, but it is just not going to be enough. So eventually, they'll take it back. They empty a lot of the ults to do it, but my God, is it a good fight for Phoenix Rising to stay in that?
Very good fight, and honestly, that's one of those situations where you need to use those ultimates. If you hold on to them and lose, then hey, you're just going to be holding on to nothing going in the next round anyway, so use them or lose them here. But now you still have a Blizzard, which Rainy Day is using early, and Romani not going to be able to escape.
Yeah, just literally used to get rid of the tank, and at that point, the fight is over. You want to try to be able to get everybody else out the best that you can right now. Petal does get a little separated, does get taken out by Love, and now Phoenix Rising has some momentum back on their side, but for everything considered, this is honestly fine. That's a quick fight. You get an ultimate out here, and you're going to be able to reset with at least 2 ults in your bank.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have both your support ultimates here, which is going to be great. Petal's Deadeye can just basically be canceled by Connie here. That's the one thing that really makes the Cassie hard in this composition, is that you lose that kind of that variability or that scariness of that Deadeye to find picks. WedTube, though, builds up that Consumer Rush early, but there's a Deadeye out from Petal.
Yeah, and now they're trying to clear point, which they might be able to get something here as it's close to coming over. Connie literally has to jump onto the point just to be able to sustain a little bit longer. Literally right there, but unfortunately, Connie's knocked out of mech, and Petal gets the 2K click just like that, and the beat, unfortunately, is going to be too late right there, as a blade here used by Jodello to try to finish things up, as a beat used in celebration of the first round, as while Phoenix Rising do definitely fight back. I mean, unfortunately, the moment Connie got knocked out of mech, it just snowballed quickly from there.
Yeah, that's one of those situations right there, and I understand that Phoenix Rising was really trying to hold on to that beat, but you really need to invest the same beat, the beat as well as the Consumer Rush at the same time. I mean, you use a Consumer Rush late, which normally is the way to go, but just not using the beat with it, because you saw Phoenix Rising try to go aggressive there, and they had a nice ice wall. I believe they trapped 3 members of Factor X out. That should have at least led to 1 kill, but it didn't lead to any. I mean, the beat came out just a little bit too late there. Connie getting out of their mech killed them there. However, they did fight back there in that first round. They were able to slow down Factor X, which was something that was a struggle there for the most part, and they were really back and forth fights. No big swaps coming out from either team just yet. Actually, no. The only swap, Jodello going over to the Tracer, and that entire support line making swaps as well. No more Lucio for LCS, and now you have WedTube on the Juno.
Yeah, it's gonna make things very interesting as Jodello goes down very early, as Rainy Day is literally just holding down that left side as we see the invasion from Phoenix Rising on that high ground. It's really hard to do anything about it really much here, so eventually they're going to get surrounded, but Phoenix Rising does have to eventually collapse in as Connie and Love cleaning things away. Cap is going to come through first and foremost here for Factor X, but Dex, I can't imagine this lasts too much longer.
I mean, you're going to see them basically stall at this point. At this point, they know this is a lost fight. Jodella's right there. Ramani's just going to kind of rotate back to regroup with their team, but you'll take that 11% there. And hey, you find Rainy Day. It's an even fight now. And
Ramani stays alive momentarily. Unfortunately, that does not last very long. Jodello is getting hit by these kunai over and over again. It's really difficult to do anything in that situation, Dex, as they kind of just have to take the hard reset here.
Yeah, and this is kind of one of those points where the D.Va finds a lot more value than what the Jungle Queen will, just because of being able to get on the high grounds, and the speed of this Phoenix Rising team is really going to slow down. It was really going to cause a lot of problems for Factor X, especially like that right there. I mean, it was very surprising for me to see Factor X make that entire support line swap when you had the support line that you probably wanted on this map, but you go over to this one as well. It's like they're trying to play bunker without the Orisa.
They kind of are, and it's a strange idea. I get playing for the Ultimates is, I mean, the Ultimates are great at LCS and WedTube right now, but being able to match a beat, I think is so extremely important, and it may be something they end up regretting in this coming fight here, as Consider Rush is being used by Hoppe aggressively as well as the Deadeye, and they're probably going to try to drop over on to this point here to make something happen. A little bit of soul from Connie, who's getting super close to having the remake, is going to have it, so we'll be able to clear off the point when they inevitably get knocked off, but a beat has been invested. Petal, though, is getting click after click, clearing things away. The freeze does get onto Ramani, and it's going to take care of business, but this is still a big clutch that has to come here from Phoenix Rising.
I mean, you have Connie in the mech, so that's going to be the biggest thing right now. They can go after people, and you have both your, or you at least have your Lucio, which is going to be enough here. And they're just juking around the point as well, but they're going to have to give it up eventually. However, I would expect a quick regroup here since Ramani's not necessarily all the way back just yet.
Yeah, 100%. WedTube, though, is coming up very closely to this Orbit Array, which, I mean, would be devastating because there's no response right now for Phoenix Rising, as Connie kind of has to watch that health. Getting demagged would almost completely put an end to this fight, as Petal, literally second Deadeye already, gonna be speeding out big time. Everyone's in a weird area. Rainy Day ends up getting caught out. Supports staying strong, and at the end of the day, I imagine they're gonna be pushed back hard. Connie's close to getting knocked out of mech. Kiwi ends up going down instead, but that 100% will cost the reset here for Phoenix Rising.
And that is not the fight that you wanted to have here, Phoenix Rising right there. You wanted to get rid of one or maybe even both of those support ultimates, because now you give Factor X the exact momentum they need here. Having both those support ultimates ablated, and hey, Petal can still click heads. If you don't slow them down, they're going to punish you like they did right there.
They just will every single time, and now Jodello is just kind of hanging around and making it difficult to even transition through here without Connie having to use a bunch of that defense matrix just to kind of get them through. But now there's a Blade ready to go still. Kiwi's beat is going to be extremely important on this fight, as I mean, you see it, Jodello is just waiting for the opportunity, but still Kiwi is dead, which means this Blade could be 100% free if they go for it.
They're not going to go for it. They're going to hold on to it. I mean, look at what this fight is devolving to already. It's just Phoenix Rising falling back, and Factor X now trying to just get to spawn doors. I mean, they have 4 of their 5 ultimates. There's the Blade, the beat coming out to counter it.
Yeah, and it is slowing things down, which means it's going to be a rough scenario to make the touch onto this point right here, as Connie is going to be able to make it over. Hoppe somehow gets rid of Jodello as well, so this might be not as locked in as we could have originally thought, as we're to see the double Orbit Array, a ton of damage being dished out, a ton of sustain, which honestly is going to help out a lot more when it comes to Factor X having Romani. But you say that, LCS has now gone down, Petal dropping, and now it's Phoenix Rising coming back up from the ashes, as they're going to get this slip coming through here now with this next fight. Will decide round 2.
Okay, Jodello and WedTube need to get out as fast as they can here. You do have your Rampage for Factor X, but you're running into a Blizzard and their own bomb from Connie. The biggest thing that Factor X needed to do that last fight was get Connie out of that mech, because it would have forced the bomb out, and you could deal with the Blizzard. But right now, you just have to find a touch. It's going to be Petal or Jodello here, probably to find it, but that Ice Wall is denying them for the moment.
Yep, Petal will get it, use the recall directly afterwards, and now it's all about getting that secondary touch. Petal's going to have to come through, no longer Gonna have that ability to recall, though, as a third touch needs to be set up. Going through, Rainy Day's the only one who get caught. But literally, I mean, that's worst case scenario for the all right there. Romani completely cut off from the squad, and now Phoenix Rising making a big case for themselves as they need to have another touch. The beat might be the thing to solidify this third round as LCS gets crushed, and that will solidify the second round. Big fight back from Phoenix Rising, forcing the third sub-map, so we'll be heading over to Well to decide it now.
Yeah, like I kind of said going into that point, or about after the first two fights, it just kind of seemed like Factor X was trying to play a composition without the main part of the composition, the Orisa. They were trying to play a bunker. It just didn't end up working out for them. I didn't necessarily understand the support swaps there, but I mean, they made it work. And they even got a commitment from the other side to basically almost mirror it at points, minus the Brig for Steel Kill, where you stay on the Lucio, which really did end up helping them out. But now as we head over to Well, I mean, you see the tanks basically going back to the Junk Queen mirror here. And outside that, I mean, no other big swaps. I'm still kind of surprised to see the Factor X supports not play the Lucio Kiri. I mean, that worked out for them really well on the first point. It's just, I understand what they're trying to go for, but I just don't know if I necessarily like it that much.
The thing that gets me is Connie being over on the Jungle Queen again. I feel that D.Va was working out so substantially, and the fact that the comp really hasn't changed, I feel like it could have worked out well, but you know what? You never know what's going to happen until you get into this first fight and see it with your own eyes, as they're going to try to run down Romani. Going to get pulled in momentarily, has to end up using the shout just to sustain themselves a little while longer, but ends up being taken down with a little help from Rainy Day. And with the point unlocked here, Jodello's in a bit of a rough scenario as Love is just pot-shotting away and starting to clear out the point as Phoenix Rising inevitably going to take this first fight, as a lot of people are working up at that third level of perks. And, I mean, Phoenix Rising, I mean, just starting strong.
Yeah, and there's the swap. We're back to that support line that I really wanted to see. They were trying to force the Juno Brig, it really seemed. It just didn't work out for them. And hey, Petal finding Rainy Day out right there as they get sent to lower atmosphere, it already leads to basically a team fight victory.
I mean, yeah, it's literally just a stall game at this point. They're going to get 25% at most at this point, as Connie will get rid of LCS before dying, getting a bit more ult charge, but inevitably, I mean, yeah, the swap just had an instant impact here, and I can't imagine they're going back anytime soon.
Instant impact, and just the DPS line found value. That was one thing the DPS line for Factor X really struggled with in that first fight, was just finding anything. LCS, though, on the Lucio back very quickly, but hey, you get the same thing for Phoenix Rising here, as, I mean, three of the 5 members on that high ground. Jodel's the only one that can really go up and contest them, but WebTube, say goodbye to Love.
Yeah, and Petal, again, finishing bodies off. It's just in the back line, by the way, just having a good old time of it all, as Connie's going to go down, and Rainy Day just needs to take the death, as they're going to go for, oh no.
Nice stall.
Yeah, that's
really nice stagger there. That's going to slow down Phoenix Rising here by a little bit. And look at what this does for both teams. It really allows both teams to build up to a lot of these ultimates. Phoenix Rising will have almost all 5 of their ultimates ready to go here pretty soon, but the Blade from Jodello, that might be something you see come out sooner rather than later, because they probably think Steel Kiwi has beat. They used it last time to get rid of beat, didn't end up finding anything, but they used it before beat's ready. You could find a pick or two, maybe even get an Ajax.
Yeah, Jodello has a blade ready to go right here. Still Kiwi, though, like you said, has that ready to go. Jodello's going to pop it now, though, to try to force it, and it does come out as a result here, but now the Deadeye needs to find some results. Unfortunately, it really doesn't. So now you're trying to run through. Love is finding pick after pick currently. Romani wants to sustain us. They're going to go. They've invested everything into this fight right here. They have to win this fight, or else that's an utter meltdown right there, as Romani is going to get cleansed, but it's still just taking too much damage to sustain through, as 82% going to be the mark. And again, that was all 5 volts, but to be fair, that was 4 of the 5 from Phoenix Rising.
Yeah, but the Blizzard has been so valuable for Rainy Day and Phoenix Rising. A couple times we've seen it here. Love fighting Jodello, and Petal will slow down Factor X here for a moment, but Factor X is okay. I mean, you look at the percentage, 82 to 40 right now. The Blizzard has to be something that really kind of evens that out a little bit here, and with how long this stall is going to be, you should be able to use it pretty early. And I mean, the last couple times they use it, they really only want to get rid of Romani, and they always end up finding WebTube because they want to come in and try to save their tank.
Yeah, we've seen Rainy Day be pretty focused on that freeze when it comes to Romani as well. Unfortunately, this one that is not the whole enchilada, ladies and gentlemen. Rainy Day has been taken care of, which means you gotta be very careful and die on this point collectively if you end up giving away this fight. But it's still a 45. It's still winnable as Connie's going to get one as Love finds another. But it's Odella trying to clear things away as people are going to die off the point, which means the touch here is going to be even more difficult.
And Rainy Day making the swap over here to the Venture, a really good touch pick here, and one that can provide a lot of value. You're going to see them probably burrow in, and honestly, Hunter, you're going to have to see him come out of the ground and try to send someone into that well. A very risky play. There's the burrow coming out for the force overtime. Ultimate's about to be online here, though, for Phoenix Rising.
Yeah, and now you see Jodello already on the hunt, trying to get Rainy Day out of this fight. But right now, the free flip kind of just comes through, and Jodello goes down. And now they're going to go in with the Deadeye activated. It's going to force bodies off the point for sure, as Connie literally has to use the ult, but the beat comes up online. Armani Kids is not able to sustain through it all. And now Phoenix Rising is clearing house. Jodello, the last person standing, and potentially the only touch.
And Love and Steel Kiwi are checking every corner. They will be able to find them out. Jodello will not be able to get there in time. Beat from LCS. Maybe there's a touch, but the rollout gets... No, there's a touch! They have a chance still.
It's still alive, and it's Romani having to come through. Ked's onto 3 bodies. Needs to find somebody here. Jodello hanging around with the blade as well, but ends up going off the cliff. Oh, no.
They can get the flip. They can still get the flip.
They could. I mean, Fennel is popping off. Romani is still hanging around, but Love is back on the scene. Recall still available. As you got to try to find someone. The flick comes through once again. They have to go in for another. Love. Keep finding people, though. Love is almost single-handedly keeping this alive for their squad. Is just getting forced around. Eventually hunted down by Petal, and somehow, some way, they managed to pull it back.
Oh my goodness. Oh, Hunter, that's one of those ones that you feel like Factor X did not deserve to win, but yet they came out on top somehow. LCS sacrificing their life to get the touch there. I don't know how it happened. I thought they got denied. I thought they got blocked. But no, Factor X, much like last week, somehow finding ways to win when they really shouldn't have. But for Phoenix Rising, though, oh, that one stings.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the indication of how this series could go. This could be, one hell of a thing, because, I mean, it probably wouldn't be a shock for either of us to have the opinion of, we thought that Factor X would probably have, sort of the edge going into this match, but it feels a little less confident than I would have probably have had previously. Phoenix Rising, though, I mean, just showing what they have right out the gate here, literally a few frames away from winning that one. I mean, you barely managed to touch that point. Literally, like, if you went down to the frame, that thing was at the very ends. But I mean, for Phoenix Rising, it sucks to lose a map, but you have to be happy about the fact you go into this and play against a team like Factor X this closely out the gate.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking at the stats right now, and just Connie had themselves a map. Only 5 deaths, the least amount of deaths of anyone in the lobby by 4, or by 3. They played incredibly. You can go back to the first point of Ruins, where they did struggle. The entirety of Phoenix Rising struggled, but they were very smart with never giving up their mech. They would fall back maybe a little bit preemptively, but it really worked out on Lighthouse for them. And their Junker Queen was very fun to see. It was very formidable as well. I mean, if you look at the stats for this first map, you really question probably how Factor X ended up coming out on top when you just look at the numbers. But this Factor X team is one of those resilient teams, as we talked about. But we are starting to learn the same thing about this Phoenix Rising squad as well. And Hunter, did you see what the map and ban was?
I did indeed see the map and the ban. So the map we're going to is going to be Suravasa. And the ban, I believe it was Phoenix Rising who banned it out. They banned out the Junker Queen, which honestly makes a lot of sense. You're going to a map where there's going to be Brawl. Romani was doing a lot on the Queen here. It makes sense to get rid of that and probably just confide back into the Orisa. That just seems most logical to me.
Orisa, D.Va
too.
Wrecking Ball could come back out here.
Connie played a great D.Va. Like, really?
Yeah. They played an incredible D.Va. Like I said, their mech management was something that you don't see from a lot of top tier players, and maybe in the other band really shows you, or really tells you a lot about how Factor X looked at that first map, just considering how well it, I believe it was, I want to say it wasn't Love. how well the Mei played for Phoenix Rising. It always just ended up doing so much. Even when they didn't find picks, it just sectioned off the team so well that Phoenix Rising always ended up coming out on top here. But coming into this map, doesn't look like any subs for any of these teams. So no big things there. I thought there might be a chance we see Bert come in here for Factor X. I believe that's their second tank. I thought we might see him come in here, but nope, sticking with Romani.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't mind it. Romani played rather consistently, did get caught up a couple of times, but honestly, for the most part, that really came on the fact of Rainy Day coming through and kind of just soloing them with the freeze, which, to be honest, running into a comp like that, that's kind of what you hope for. But either way, no Jungle Queen, no Mei available this time around. Romani currently representing the Ramattra, while Connie has confided back over to the Orisa, which, to be fair, we've seen the Orisa be Ramattra quite a bit lately, and it feels like more often than not, the Orisa kind of tends to come out on top, at the very least during the non-ultimate fights.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got really distracted by the fact that I think Love was on the Hanzo and actually shot a sonar arrow onto the middle of the point.
That's crazy.
But yeah, the Orisa just has much more sustain. That's the biggest thing going up against Ramattra, who does have some sustain themselves going in that Nemesis form, but Spear Spin and just Fortify are so much stronger than Nemesis form. And I mean, you look at Rainy Day on this venture, I think that's going to cause a lot of problems, not only for Romani, but for LCS. And they're just going to be pressured out too much here. I think we might end up seeing a quick swap.
Yeah, we see super aggression here from Connie, literally using almost everything to get through as still Kiwi has been taken down. Romani, though, sitting super low, eventually going to get taken out thanks to the spear. So as long as they can sustain Connie, realistically, this should be something that's in their hands. But Judello always hanging around, always wants to make a difference as Rainy Day in a bit of a bad situation gets taken out. And now the flip. While it has gone to Phoenix Rising, it is still very much into the favor of Factor X to come in, make something happen, as Judello is just getting kind of poked out now.
I mean, LCS is really the one that's kind of worrying or giving Connie some problems. Still Kiwi's right there. Jodello's just trying to do what they can to be a little bit of a distraction, but I like Hot Babe here on the BAP. I really think that's something that Factor X needs to adapt here with. I think the BAP's just a little bit better in the composition they want to run.
Yeah, 100% here as Nemesis form used by Romani early on, trying to force Connie out of the fight. Does get ready for Mortality Field. The gold form ends up going down as Connie ends up dropping straight off right after they end up using the Amp Matrix. So point's going to flip over, and now all of everyone from Phoenix Rising getting separated with Love going down. I mean, gold form gone from Connie. This is probably going to fall apart very quickly.
Should fall apart very quickly for them. They're going to be able to find Jodello out, and that's a huge pick, but I like what we're seeing here for Factor X, chasing everyone down. And LCS, I mean, they somehow kept themselves alive after going headfirst into that Amp Matrix and basically going into the brunt of what that Phoenix Rising team had left there, which is 4 of the 5 members. I was surprised they lived there. However, you look at ultimates now. We're about to see a lot come online. That Tectonic Shock for Rainy Day is going to be one that I think forces out something from Factor X. What it will be, I don't know, but look at what Phoenix Rising has here. 4 really good ultimates. That beat from Steel Kiwi might be the one that really is the turning point of this fight.
Yeah, exactly. We're seeing Love trying to find something here as just trying to shoot down the alleyway. Unfortunately, Connie has gone down here really early. This fight just, I mean, it's going to be so difficult to pull this fight now without your tank in the lineup. And now for the rest of Phoenix Rising, this is just a back out and take the reset scenario. You just have to hand over that first point and just try to keep everybody else alive.
And again, it's one of those situations where Steel Kiwi probably needed to engage with the beat with their tank, and they probably would have had a little bit of a better chance in that fight. However, I don't know if the new tech is just in just yet for the flash points, but we are going to a favorable spawn here for Phoenix Rising. And hey, 3 ultimates online. Here comes 2. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the combo works well for the time being. Connie, though, is getting drilled into. Need able to get rid of them to make it happen. Jodello is going to go ahead and, just got beated, got pushed back, spun back. Unfortunately, it ends up getting nothing, as that is going to be a Phoenix Rising win. They do end up investing, what, 3 ultimates into that fight? But to be honest, if it ends up getting them a win, I mean, you got to take it sometimes.
You got to take it. You also got 2 ultimates out from the other side. And at this point, you're trying to figure out, does LCS have Rally? You probably know Romani has the Annihilation here. And, I mean, if you're Factor X, do you think Hot Babe has the Amp Matrix? That's going to be a big difference here in how they play this fight. If they, well, they know they don't have it now. That Annihilation for Romani is going to probably be coming out momentarily, Hunter.
Yeah, Romani just wants to solidify the fight 100%, but I think they're going to try to not use it this fight if they can avoid it right here. And as Kiwi goes down, I think Romani is going to be more than happy just to hold on to this ultimate, and Connie and squad is more than happy to try to get out with their lives, as Rainy Day was waiting that maybe they would just pass them by, but unfortunately does not come to fruition.
Unfortunate kind of play there for Rainy Day. They probably thought, okay, maybe if I hide here, no one would have saw me. I think one member saw them from Factor X and punished them for it. And that will slow down Phoenix Rising here. But, I mean, Phoenix Rising, you're in still a good spot. You have your Amp Matrix. You're not that far away from a good combo with it with the Overclock. However, you're now walking into Rally, Annihilation, and an Overclock from Petal. So it's not going to be an easy fight.
Yeah, but M-Matrix does come out. It is going to cause things to be a little difficult, as Romani is getting a bunch of pressure. Might have to use Annihilation here momentarily to have to sustain themselves. They're getting drilled into, and you can see Romani is looking to move forward right now to go on the aggression with it. Just trying to get sustained as they're getting pushed back further and further. Jodello has gone down. Romani sees the Immortality Field and realizes it is go time, baby. They're going to push in, but they're going to get speared back almost immediately. As 80% and counting comes online, Romani going to have to block away to stop a bunch of that major damage from coming through, as Wed2 wants to try to solidify this right here and now with a little help from Petal. Looks like they should be able to do so, as Love, unfortunately, is just a bit of a rough scenario trying to make this overclock work, as it's going to be a 2-0 rather quickly here, as unfortunately Phoenix Rising not able to find a lot of the momentum that they had previously on Oasis. Or Ilios.
Yeah, on Ilios. I mean, but like they still look good. That's the thing. They're losing fights, but they're losing them very closely. And that's just one thing we've talked about with Factor X being a very resilient team in the past. But now I see what you're oohing at. I like the swap here from Rainy Day. They really noticed in those last couple fights that Romani, Jodello, Petal, and everyone was getting very, very low. There's only so much healing that WebTube and LCS can do on their own. So that focusing beam is going to just absolutely rip through the majority of Factor X, because they like to play aggressively. They like to get in your face. They're not afraid to take damage. And if you are Phoenix Rising, you have a beat that you could play aggressively with.
Yeah, you really could right here, as Point has unlocked Amp Matrix use yet again. I mean, say what you want about Hoppe, they are really good up getting this Amp Matrix up pretty quickly, but still, Blade has come up online. You have the Immortality Field already at the available beat use afterwards, and Love gonna clear them away. In fact, gonna clear more than one away, has gotten rid of two, as Romani and squad want to try to make it happen. Unfortunately, they're gonna get burnt away in time, as first fight going to head over to Phoenix Rising as they take some momentum. And honestly, a lot of that comes down to the fact that these supports are getting these ultimates back so quickly.
Yeah, Hotbabe and Still Kiwi, especially Hotbabe, they've just been building up ultimates like they're hotcakes here. It's like one fight and hey, they have another ultimate here. It's why I kind of want to see Factor X go over to this map as well, because they would be getting the same amount of value, I feel like here. But look at what Phoenix Rising has coming in this fight. Every other ultimate besides those supports. I mean, Hunter, this is their point to win at this moment, I believe.
Yeah, honestly, especially like, hey, if you get this copy up online here, you can just run down on that Ramantra and sustain unbelievably. But Petal is going to get forced back a little bit the moment they end up popping that overclock. Still getting pretty low as Connie has to survive. Gonna pull in a couple of bodies as Romani just decides to go in for the all-out investment with the Annihilation. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to work out beautifully. Hot Babe gonna get eliminated. Romani and Connie, I mean, it's just unfortunately not gonna work out, as Rainy Day gonna take the later death. Still Kiwi going to be the only survivor of that fight.
But you're absolutely okay with losing that fight if you are Phoenix Rising. Yeah, you're not happy about it, but you got out two really good ultimates. Actually, you got out three. Petal, Romani, and LCS used their ultimates to varying success, but got to the point. Look at what you have. You have both your support, both your DPS ultimates, and you're not far away from yet another hot babe Amp Matrix.
Yeah, and Love's trying to find something, but Orbital Ray has come through. It's going to create a bunch of stain, a bunch of powers. Means it's really tough to go in here and do anything. But now this is becoming a must-win fight here. As unfortunately, Love's going to be taken out. But Hot Babe again has another Matrix out. Unfortunately, it's not going to mean a whole lot at the end of the day here. Rainy Day does manage to find one, but Connie doesn't have any sustain left. Rainy Day is trying to find and punch away. Will eventually get the Annihilation, though, and that's pretty important at the end of the day to try to find something. Unfortunately, they're surrounded at 3 different angles and just don't have the sustain to keep this going.
I mean, they might have a little bit of sustain here finding those late picks, but no, they don't. They don't get a touch. Still Kiwi not able to get a touch in time, and Factor X. One map went away from, I would say, almost guaranteed locking themselves into the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant performance by them at the end of the day. And it's Again, I don't think this is Phoenix Rising playing bad whatsoever, but it is Factor X being an aggressive team. When Romani, every time they get pulled in to that Terror Surge during those fights, especially that last fight was a great example, is they would realize, okay, you are basically giving yourself for this ultimate, and you're not able to defend your backline when you're coming to a Terror Surge. So they immediately pop the Annihilation, they run down the backline, and that fight was as good as done at the moment they got rid of Hot Babe in that fight. So it ends up being a great performance on their part. And now it's the question of, what do you really do here if you're Phoenix Rising? I mean, this is essentially your season on the line in this scenario. It's kind of hard to... It's just a rough situation, but they have shown they can win fights, that they can take points. They have the ability to win this series, but it's going to take a lot from this point on.
It's just been 2 really close maps. I mean, this one, scoreboard shows it not being as close as what it really was at the end, but Factor X, they just find ways to win these fights. And that's been one thing that over the last, when we watched them last week, really helped them out then. It's helping them out here now. Phoenix Rising, like we said, a loss here doesn't necessarily knock them out of playoffs. It just puts them into that thing where they will need a lot of help in a victory against Pumas on Thursday. But I mean, right now, if you're Phoenix Rising, you've been so close these last 2 maps, and you're probably thinking, like, what do we need to do to get over the hump? Do we need to make a sub? Do we need to just change up how our pacing is? Because I think they've been playing very good. I think their pacing's been almost perfect. I mean, Hot Babe has been incredible here. Watch Point Gibraltar, though, could be our deciding map for the series in the bans. Well, Phoenix Rising no longer wants to see that Genji. And I think Factor X making just a very smart map ban here, banning out the Ana.
Yeah, I like it at the end of the day. Obviously, Genji being taken out means you just kind of want to cut Jodella at the legs here for something else instead. Because Genji obviously is going to get a ton of value on a map like Watch Point, and that's the same case with Ana. And while we haven't really seen it much throughout this series so far, in fact, I don't think we've seen them at all to this point, it cuts away the Ana break entirely, which means you have to kind of go around different routes. You might have to commit to the fast style of like the Lucio Kiriko. Maybe you do go down the route of that Brig Jino earlier, like what you were running if you were Factor X. You know, the possibility is there. But if anything, this says Factor X is comfortable not running the Ana in this situation, and it's just pretty much has their own style they want to use, but they don't want to have to worry about the Ana in these situations.
Yeah, and like I kind of said, Ana's very prominent on this map if they're not banned out, so just ban them out. Very smart ban just for that reason. Even though we haven't seen it that much, you do expect to see it with dive compositions, which is what we've seen from Phoenix Rising the majority of the series, is what you see right now from them. Rainy Day, though, again on the Mei. It's a very interesting pick, but hey, they proved me wrong all the way back on Elio, so I'm ready for it here again. Love, though, on the Widow. If they can find someone early, they give their team the opportunity to take the momentum and run with it, and there you go.
Yeah, Dex, I don't see the thing right now. So, yeah, this is a very... Well, I definitely got invited at one point. Okay, we're going to figure this out really quick here, but I am not currently in, which is not a great situation. This was not the plan, ladies and gentlemen, as I'm going to have to go about this a much different way, so give me just a second, ladies and gentlemen, as I am going to quickly figure this out and get things set up. So just give me 1 second. Dex, you're gonna be my observer on the fly. I'm gonna pull up window mode here. We're gonna make this happen. All right, we're gonna do this.
I mean, right now, Love came out on the Widowmaker, got a pick very early on, and gave them all the momentum. And look, we're not even a minute in, and we're at first point.
Yeah, 100% here. As I mean, oh yeah, you're entirely right. The fact that I didn't see these first 45 seconds, man, that's a little unfortunate that I did not get to see that. As Romani gonna clear out another. And with Love being down, you're going to see them get forced back more and more. Phoenix Rising, to be fair, with only a minute down, have a ton of space to work with already.
A ton of space, but that's the problem on this map, is that you could have all this space, but it's tough to get back to.
Yeah, I mean, it really is in that kind of situation, as obviously you can be forced back more and more. 2.5 minutes on the clock. It's kind of going to take a bit of a late death here. Romani, though, is super low. If they get taken out, the door could open up, but Romani is just to go back, get carried up, play safe.
Yeah, and it seems like the rest of Factor X is going to fall back here and just get set back up. I mean, they've gotten rid of now half the time bank, which is really good for them. But both teams are starting to come to ultimates. Rainy Days Blizzards have been very big in the past, and hey, getting rid of Romani is probably what you need to do at the moment.
No, it really is what you need to do here as Pulse Bomb comes out. Still, Kiwi pretty much gets drilled away on the spot. But Romani going down does open up the door here. And Love ends up getting a 2K here as well. 3K on top of that. Why not? And now Factor X needs a quick reset here. But to be honest, I'm not sure how touchable this is.
I mean, LCS might make a lunge for it, but no, they're just going to give it up. I mean, that entire first... Oh, they're going to be able to escape, though, safely. But that they played a little bit too aggressively right there, and it comes back to bite them, giving Phoenix Rising this first point and the momentum they need now.
Yeah. Definitely going to be able to do so with 4 minutes on the clock right here. Petal going to try to find something with this Deadeye. Could manage to get Connie out of the mech, but Connie gets knocked out of the mech naturally. Anyhow, should take a death here right now as you're going to see the investment on both sides. Double investment for Phoenix Rising for Hot Babe. It seems to be working out with the freeze coming through. They get rid of 3, and with him clearing away Petal, they're able to get the mech, or not the mech, the point moving once again here. So for Phoenix Rising, this is a pretty good start for them.
Yeah, I mean, it started off really good. You got stalled for a moment, but hey, only a moment. You still have a very healthy time bank. You have a lot of ultimates coming up, and you just forced Ramaya to make a swap here over to the Junker Queen, which, I mean, it worked out when we saw this battle a little bit earlier in the favor of Connie, so this might be exactly what you're looking for if you're Phoenix Rising.
Yeah, and you're already getting a ton of space too right now. Love is living forever inside of there, but the reload has to come through, as you're going to see. Still, Keep wants to be able to come and make something happen. Trying to keep Connie up as Bomb going to come out online. Love manages to get rid of Logello. Connie gets a 2K with a bomb on top of it. And this second point is all but secured.
And that is, again, kind of painful there for Factor X. I mean, they made those swaps, kind of put them behind the 8-ball a little bit, but Phoenix Rising, they took the momentum and now they're running with it, which is exactly what they need to do. What did I say coming into this map? They just need to find a way to get over the hump. So far, they have found that way, but this last point is very, very difficult to push through, so it's not going to be an easy one for them, especially with Factor X coming up to a lot of their ultimates.
Yeah, no, 100% here. So with this fight coming up, Factor X want to be sure not to invest too much in this scenario. As I say that, they invest both the ultimates they have in their pocket. They do, however, get rid of Love here. I mean, Rainy Day is all but dead in this scenario, as Hot Babe is going to invest in this fight, and the animation, unfortunately, is not even in the best of locations, as everyone's going to be able to sustain. LCS gets low, but just backs out.
And I mean, this is what I was talking about. Factor X coming up to all these ultimates, and you really just use your only good one for Phoenix Rising for the moment. Yeah, Connie's going to have Bomb, but I mean, you're going to need to find a little bit of value with it, much like last time. But hey, if they can find 2 again, it might just be the thing that kickstarts them here.
Yeah, it really might just be Jodello has to be forced into that, as that's going to catch on to 4 old people. Romani clearing house. Oh my good gravy god, and Connie is going to get demeched.
And, oh, just what you needed here. Connie going to be taken out by the flashbang. But you look at Factor X now. They're in this good spot. They're cycling through ultimates, one ultimate at a time. Blizzard, Deadeye, and Beat about to be ready here. But you look now over at the side of Phoenix Rising. They're about to have 3 good ones as well. So you're back into that spot where Phoenix Rising really likes to be, especially finding Rainy Day, or went too early.
Yeah, freeze does come online from Jodello, though. It's going to catch on to Love, who, unfortunately, is not going to be cleared out here. So Factor X now in here super deep and don't really have the picks to be able to sustain staying in here as Connie getting frozen down. Eventually, LCS going to be caught out. Romani, a bit of a rough scenario, trying to self-sustain as much as they possibly can with that DM right in their face. They're eventually torn down, and with 2:20 still on the clock here, Phoenix Rising going to get moving. And this is the benefit of getting to this point as early as they have.
Yeah, they give themselves that chance to, you know, kind of struggle a little bit out the gate, but ooh, nice major perk there for Jodello, making sure they have the freeze there. But you look at Phoenix Rising, 5 ultimates, Ant Matrix already coming out there. Petal used their Deadeye, but immediately canceled it.
Yeah, might have been a bit of a misclick, you never know, but that certainly wasn't a misclick by Love, who's going to make this really difficult. Petal's in a weird scenario, doesn't get hit with it though. So this is still going as freeze has been used, trying to catch on to somebody. Unfortunately, it's going to catch on to a grand total of 0 people. And it's a bit of an unfortunate situation for them as you're going to try to find something with the double investment of the support ultimates. Connie gets super low, and you're going to see the investment big time. Going to catch 2 more. Bomb is going to help them be able to ring back. Unfortunately, Petal is just clearing house.
This is what you want to see, but hey, that card is being backcapped.
Yeah, I mean, to be
goodbye, hot babe.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, you bring it even closer, you make it a little more pressure, but unfortunately, Connie is,
guys,
wow.
guys. Oh my goodness.
Whew.
Oh, that was a little bit too close for comfort right there, but Hunter, Patrick has done a really good job here. Over 4 minutes going into this push. Now they've lowered it down to 1, and you could really tell Phoenix Rising put all their eggs into that last fight's basket. No ultimates. Hot Babe and Ray, they have built up to their ultimates pretty fast, and Connie making the swap over here to the Czar. I like this swap late, but they honestly, I feel like, need to build up to a grab.
Yeah, I don't hate it, but you're correct. And now you got to wonder if they can even build up a lot of this charge right here. But they're going to have to if they want to drill through here. Deadeye going to come online here, going to try to push them forward with all the speed in the world necessary. Unfortunately, just not enough as Freeze is throwing in. Rainy Day going to throw it directly back. Going to try to catch it to somebody. Romani ends up caught up right now and isn't able to get into Connie. So the possibility is 100% here, ladies and gentlemen. The 2K is activated for Connie. They need to get bodies on this car, try to get some picks, and right now, the touch is available, but it's going to be a rough one.
It's going to be a rough one, but you're also going to be having to walk into
whoa,
an amp and a Deadeye. No, touch it!
Oh, that Deadeye was going to clear house anyway, honestly.
Oh,
it
really was. It really was going to be able to clear house right there, but good job by Phoenix Rising to complete the map. You have 5 seconds. Hey, you'll take that. You will take that every time. And I mean, just looking at the stats here, I mean, it's really, really close when you look at it. Again, that's been every map though this series. Just really, really close. Petal and Romani are being workhorses right now for Factor X. But on the other side, I mean, that tank line and that DPS line, they are, look at how even they all are. All 7,700 damage, Hunter. I've never seen that level of consistency from any team.
That is a ton of consistency. It is not something you see every day in a scenario like this. I mean, oh, God, holy crap. I love the jittering you have going down there, good sir. I love the observing. But focusing on this once again, no, I'm loving at the end of that age the consistency that you are seeing. I mean, even Hot Babe, he's putting out a ton of consistency as well. Has nearly 10k healing. Has only died 3 times as well. I mean, it goes to show how well the support line really has been doing over on the side of Phoenix Rising. But at the end of the day, they still have to stop Factor X from finishing the map here, because with the way things are going and what they're doing, they might just try to TP and run at them super fast.
I mean, that's a normal play. Looks like they're going to TP to the opposite, actually the opposite low ground right there. And, ooh, Freya's showing up for the first time here for Petal, trying to catch them by surprise, but everyone's in that small room.
Yeah, everyone's just kind of big chilling there, you know. It kind of is what it is at the end of the day. But regardless, you want to get off to a really good start here if you are Factor X, and that starts with kind of just keeping bodies on the point, and they are just, man, they do not give a damn about this high ground. They are just committing to playing low and forcing Phoenix Rising to have to drop over here soon. As TP comes through, they're going to speed on to absolutely nobody with that TP, but it is going to become a bit of an awkward scenario as they're getting beamed down and focused out. Delos did stick on the Symmetra instead of swapping after the TP.
I like it. I like it for the moment, especially if they can get that beam charged up. I mean, especially going up against Connie on this Diva, there's going to be nothing that stops it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not even wrong about that. So you got to see what kind of things you can really get going here. So Delo does get rid of still Kiwi. So the possibility is there. They do manage to get rid of Jodello, but unfortunately being popped out of mech means you can't really sustain your defense any longer. So eventually you're going to get things taken care of, but Rainy Day is dying really late on the point here, which means a comeback is 100% there.
It is 100% there. I mean, you see him already kind of forming up right there. There should be a touch, especially with Deadeye and Blizzard not that far away. But Bola shot ready here for Petal. I don't necessarily know how much of a difference it would make this fight, but it's definitely going to be a thing they have to worry about.
Yeah, and Love gets rid of 2. Romani still gets rid of still Kiwi, so the possibility is there, but Love is now cleared out 3, and Connie going to help finish off, which means Romani is going to go all out. Investing, why not? I mean, if you get Connie on a mech, that's massive. Rainy Day might end up using the freeze here just to be able to make it happen. As man, they're doing everything they can, and Rainy Day, it's throwing it out. No,
it gets canceled. Romani somehow, some way, capping this point all on their own. Yeah, you know, Romani, I'm posting that question mark after that as well, because you should not have won that there. And Hunter, like I said, this is one of those things with this Factor X team, a resilient squad, and Romani, a one-man wrecking crew right there.
It's insanity, the fact that it went down that way. If he used that freeze a few seconds earlier, that fight is over. We're still playing on first point, and now, I mean, to be fair, they do stop the momentum pretty much immediately. The wall all but going to confirm Romani going down as Petal looks to have gotten out his rainy day now hitting the question mark.
Yeah, I deserve that. These two teams are having fun.
Oh, you gotta love it.
But I mean, right now, if you're Phoenix Rising, hey, that's a huge fight win. This is a very, very hard point to push through, and now you just stop them right at the start of it. It's gonna be really hard, and my feeling is they might actually rulebook them for that.
Too late. But or to see that symbol being used is not really gonna really do anything to kind of help them out here. As Petal is just running people down anyway. Romani is burning people away. This fight is completely secure, and I love it. The fact you use the symbol this way kind of does get Petal on the way out, and Connie has to focus on getting out alive, and is going to be able to do so. Wow.
And I mean, that Sim is getting a lot more play now, which is, hey, for me, great to see, but people are really starting to learn how to use everything with this character. Photon Barrier is a very, very strong ultimate, just no one has really bothered to learn how to truly use it. Or though out.
Yeah, TP has been used. Going to try to run down that back line. You're trying to get back very quickly if you are Petal, but Immortality Field has been used, trying to pull some bodies back. Freeze comes up online. Romani gets moved back into it. So is getting freezing. It is right in the face of a bomb as they're trying to get out with the ult, but Petal still goes down as they're clearing out the house. Romani gets one, but Love is just going to solidify this with the Deadeye.
That was a series of fortunate events. Depends on what side you're looking at there. Romani getting booped back in by Still Kiwi, using their own rampage there to try to find some value after the fact, and then having their team lose the fight after that really does put Factor X now really far back. You only have Hot Babe's damage, which is easily avoidable, especially with TPs, as it looks like they're TPing down to the low ground to fake them out a little bit.
Yeah, just trying to go for just the full commit on point here and say, which honestly, it's going to force Connie to have to drop down eventually. But Hot Babe, once again, going to have an 8 Matrix ready, and honestly, might not be needed with Still Kiwi getting rid of Wet Tube. But Hot Babe being down does get rid of the only ultimate that is available in the entire game right now. As LCS says, they're just committing to the point, and Connie has to get back to the point. Connie's going to get booped away, and they're not going to touch, dude.
Unfortunate right there, because I really thought Phoenix Rising was getting back into having the momentum, and now there's a part of me I feel like Jodella might be DCing. But late picks coming out there. Romani got to be able to cap or actually find Love, and now 2 minutes 40 seconds here, and all that Factor X needs to do is just finish the map. 5 seconds at this point is not that big of a deal. Even if you cap it in overtime, it just means you're attacking first.
Yeah, the time isn't what particularly matters a whole lot here. It's just simply finishing. And obviously, you would love to do it with like a minute and a half on the point here. That would give you a big advantage in terms of time going to the 3rd and 4th round. But again, a TP style wall being used. No way to really stop that Deadeye there, as Love not able to find anything. And I mean, this entire stage of style is just killing them. Honestly, they are having a really hard time adjusting.
Hot Babe not gonna be able to find anything. LCS finds Rainy Day, and Connie's I think your last hope here at getting a touch. They're on the ball. Do they get a touch? They do.
Yeah, and they will get the shields as well, but they're just being obliterated. Connie is down, and I mean, they tried something, and unfortunately, Phoenix Rising just didn't find an answer. They had something during some of the 1st and 2nd points, but after that, it just kept snowballing, honestly.
I think you really have to go back and look at that first point. Romani coming alive or just becoming a monster. I mean, it was 3v1. Remember that. It was 3v1. Yeah. And in any situation, you say, even with it being the tank being the one, that 3 should still come out on top, especially when you had your own tank. Connie was there in mech. They just got pressured out by Romani, and just getting that small dot healing you get from just melee was such a big difference there for them. But now overtime is here. You will see Phoenix Rising attacking here first, and Hunter, this is essentially for their season. No, actually, no, let me rephrase that. It's for the game. They're not necessarily eliminated from playoffs if they lose, but it puts them in a situation where they have to win on Thursday against Pumas and then need some help from some other teams.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. I mean, obviously, when we give the suggestion that this means everything, it in a sense does, because this is them being in control of their destiny right now, winning this game. If not, you said it, it's out of their hands. They can go and win that game against Pumas, but it doesn't even confirm the fact that they're going to move on to that top four. That's an interesting visual here before us. But either way, yeah, love to see it. Love, though, not finding anything at the beginning. Romani, though, has to shout pretty early and aggressively as, yeah, Romani's just committing down here with the rest of their squad, but to be fair, the rest of their squad eventually goes ahead and TPs in here, as I just love the idea of full committing down here.
Love the idea as well, but you need to be able to survive it, and with everyone there, Romani's going to get back up to full health and actually force back the majority of Phoenix Rising here. Phoenix Rising, I think Love has to make a swap here. Yeah. You need to get over something that has a little bit more value, and especially in fights like this.
Yeah, and Connie almost gives their life just to go in and make something happen. People are getting forced back further and further. Love, it really just needs to swap unless they find a glory headshot right now, which they just aren't. They're being cleared away. And now it's literally just Connie who has to go above and find some kind of touch. They're going to go through and get a touch here. They're going to get up one more time, and now you just got to try to get back if you're Love. But at this point, it is going to be so rough.
And they get pooped away, and then they have to recall to keep themselves alive. Well, if you're Factor X, I mean, 39 meters essentially is all you need. That is very, very doable. And, I mean, Hunter, like we talked about, a win here tonight, both me and you believe, would lock Factor X into a playoff spot unless we have some incredible upsets happen tonight and tomorrow, and then some wild results happen on Thursday.
Yeah, it does take some pretty wild things to happen for Factor X to be able to win this and not get into the top four. Like, insane things has to happen. But at this point, Factor X getting this, I think, would put them in the best position possible, especially doing it in 3-0 fashion, where you can go into your last game and not feel as much pressure. But you can see from a lot of the stats that we see here before us. I mean, there's a couple of big standout things. First of all, Romani, 37 eliminations, only has gone down 7 times in this near 16 minutes that we've been playing this game. And that amount of damage on top of that, too. Romani has just kind of been a bit of a killing machine, quite frankly, on this, I mean, especially the Junker Queen. They just ran it down.
Yeah, and that's been something like we saw it a little bit back on the first point of Ilios, where the Junker Queen was a big problem for the Diva.
Yeah.
And, I mean, second point, though, it kind of all changed, but look at what we're seeing here now from Phoenix Rising. A little bit of a different comp. I would say it's almost essentially a bunker here.
Yeah, and to be the unfortunate part is that this is what you kind of have to do here. And unless you match the entire thing back, this is literally the solution, as we see Petal over on the Hanzo at this point, which, I mean, curious to see how it's going to work out. Unfortunately for Rainy Day, it works out brilliantly as they're full committing. They have to go and drop to the point, as, I mean, with the meter left, Connie is eventually going to get pulled in as soon as that gold form is out. Habib trying to make something happen, but it's just be forced back more and more. And at this point, Dex, unfortunately, this is all but settled. Factor X got to take the win, got to move up to 4-2, and with almost certainty, should have themselves a top 4 spot.
Yeah, almost certainly should be locking themselves in here. And, I mean, this Factor X team, we were really concerned when we saw them have 2 losses about, 2 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, because we saw them play against Elements back in week 1. Only one of the only teams to actually take a map off Elements this season. So we had a lot of high hopes for them, but these last couple weeks, they were basically playing for their lives, playing for their season. And, man, they have turned it around here immensely. Now locking themselves in, we believe, unless some wild stuff happens on Thursday. But this Factor X team, kind of where we really expected them. However, for Phoenix Rising, I mean, you still have a chance. You do. Don't let anyone say that you are out now. You still have Pumas, who has technically already played their 6th game because they were supposed to play, I believe it was Criminal Database tonight, but since they're no longer a team. That game was forfeited. Puma sits 3-3. Phoenix Rising sits 2-4. If Phoenix Rising wins that one, they'd have the same record, and I imagine Phoenix Rising would get above them on the head-to-head, and I think that would put them in. So there's still a lot of hope here for this Phoenix Rising team. And Hunter, both me and you really agreed throughout this final map, or throughout this entire series, like, it was really close. The score lines on some of these maps might not say it was that, but I'm trying to figure out what was the most one-sided map we have, and I want to kind of point to Watch Point, but that was still very close at times throughout the majority of it. It was only those overtime rounds where it seemed like Phoenix Rising was struggling to get going.
Yeah, it really was where they struggled. And to be fair, I mean, Phoenix Rising had their glory spots. I mean, especially look back at that very first map where it felt like it was a completely 50-50 scenario, honestly. It literally came down to a touch coming through by mere milliseconds, quite honestly. And we could be sitting here going to that fourth or even fifth map, you know, if that was just even slightly different. But unfortunately, it just felt like Factor X figured it out at some point during second map. And unfortunately, Phoenix realized what they were trying to do that second map. We saw the Joker Queen Bandit try to stop them. Unfortunately, it didn't really stop the process from happening. Factor X just realized Phoenix Rising isn't going to always be super aggressive. That means we are given the right to be super aggressive. And most fights, they were just able to take advantage of that and get that moving. So it's an unfortunate scenario. Phoenix Rising need a lot of help to make it happen. But for Factor X, like I said, it feels almost all but a certainty at this point. It takes some wild scenarios. We'll go ahead and look at the standing screen here, as Elements did get that win previously over Garfo, so that's all taken care of. And the Garfo, that's their last game of the season right there as well. So that's going to be a send-off for them for the season. But we're currently waiting on the results of that Warfist Luminous Mortis game, which currently is on pause with Warfist being up 2-0.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's kind of what we expected from that one. So on Thursday, we will have Elements and Warfist playing for the #1 seed. But I don't know if we're going to cover that one. I feel like we need to cover one of these ones that's potentially for a play, and it might be Phoenix Rising versus Pumas, because I believe that one will be for, I think, essentially the final spot. The Luminous Mortis game, they, like you said, I think they're struggling right now, so they might be also kind of we have a weird situation here where Luminous Mortis and Phoenix Rising could both be 2-4 going into that final day, and if they end up winning their games, it puts them both into very weird spots where you would have three teams be 3-4 on the season, and one of those teams would get the final spot.
Yeah, and I believe at that point it would come down to the head-to-head if their map differential is the same, which I gotta remember how that match went down between them. I'm gonna go ahead and double check right now, but I believe if it'll show the history, which it's not showing the history. Why are you not showing the history? Ah, here we go right now. So that game between them ended up going to Phoenix Rising.
Yeah, so I mean, essentially at this point, I think what it is, if Phoenix Rising wins on Thursday, they're in.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if Luminous Mortis wins, Phoenix Rising, all they have to do is beat Pumas, who we've seen Pumas a couple times, Hunter, this season. They either look really good or they struggle. And which version of Pumas are you going to get? Not having a game tonight, hopefully they are able to watch Phoenix Rising here and find out that it's going to be a very, very tough game, because they, even though they lost this one in sweeping fashion, kept every map close, kept every map interesting.
Yeah, they really did just keep it interesting throughout the entirety of this series. So obviously, I hope to see the entertainment go further beyond just this Thursday's game, because if they go through, they're going to face what it will essentially be the winner of Warfist and Elements, because whoever wins that ends up being able to take on the 4th seed, which in this situation looks like it's either going to end up being Phoenix Rising or Pumas in this situation. It could be Factor X if certain shenanigans happen, I think, but obviously we're not going to know a lot more until we get to that Thursday, and then once we're done with that Thursday, we'll be able to really solidify what the top 4 is and what that playoff picture is going to look like. But of course, Dex, that is decided on a different day. I wish we could do all of it right here and now. I wish it was possible, but unfortunately we're going to have to wait. But that means we will have another double feature over on Thursday with the South America game followed by a North America game But speaking of, we're going to go ahead and cut it to a break for a while and stop the stream for quite some time because we have a matcher going on at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time between Extinction Zero, who right now is on, doing pretty good, 8-4. But if we're talking about a team that's doing good, Shikigami, who is 7-5, who has risen from the ashes and needs another big win here today. And who is that? Who's going to win that game, Dex? I'm sure we have some predictions, but for the time being, we're going to go ahead and cut it over. Thank you all very much for joining us. Please join us back again in about 50 minutes here for this next game. And, hey, hopefully, if it a banger. We'll see you then.